Hi, everyone. The other day, I stopped at the bank and I had a little conversation with the cashier, the teller. And somehow, what popped out of my mouth was a phrase that then has stuck with me, and I kind of want to talk about it. What I said to her was, "We don't move through time, time moves through us." Now, let's stop and explore this a little bit. We don't move through time, time moves through us. The human experience, the common experience, is that we have this linear perception of time. It's called chronesthesia. This goes back to a memory researcher by the name of Tulving. We have this subjective perception of time. Chronesthesia, chronos, time. And we appear to move through time as if there was a real thing called time, in the same manner that we move through space. There's an appearance that we can change our position from one location to another. Time is different. It's the same and different. I'm not going to go too deep on this. But time is a perception. So is this, yes. Let's stick with time. Time is a perception. You cannot point to time in the same way that you think you can point to space. I can pick up an object and I have a perception that this object exists some distance from my eyes. Again, this is still a perception, and this perception would not exist without consciousness, awareness of this. But for now, let's just accept the fact that there is an object out here. There isn't. But time, you can't point to time. Can you? Take a moment, point to time. Oh, you might pick up a watch or a phone. Right now I'm cutting this video. It says 3:59 p.m. I'm on Mountain Standard Time right now. And I could sit here and I could watch. 4 o'clock. Actually, in 10 seconds. So it appears that time's moving, but that's just a clock, a watch, a phone that artificially separates out the perception of motion of the sun from horizon to horizon, from sunrise to sunset, and around the back of the earth. And again, that's what it's measuring. It's not measuring time, it's measuring motion. This way we know today's Friday. We give it a name. It's a new day, a sunrise. It's a new day. But where is time? We appear to move through time. We age. We see our children grow. We see our dogs and pets get older. We see ourselves get older. We see trees grow in the yard. We see seasonal changes. There's an appearance of moving through time. But can you find time? Where is time? So I then followed that up with my statement of We don't move through time. Time moves through us. When I refer to us, what am I referring to? I'm not referring to who you think we are as unique individuals. I'm referring to us as sentient beings. Us as human beings that have this linear perception of time. We are consciously awake to what's going on around us right now. So time moves through us being really our true nature. Us being this spacious, timeless awareness that we are. This is just language. I'm just using words. You can call it pure presence, awakeness, awareness, pure consciousness, emptiness, the absolute. The ground of being. What is this ground of being? It is this very awareness. It's that awareness, I say over there, that is listening to this video. You are aware of this video. You are also aware of maybe ambient sounds in your environment. So when I say time moves through us, I'm not saying that there's any reality to time. I'm just saying that there's a perception of time. But we don't go anywhere. This us that I'm referring to, this ground of being that I'm referring to, is just this. Just this. And this. And I'm kind of looking out here, but there's a loop here going on. And I'm pointing to my head because that's typically where we think our awareness comes from. We don't really know where our awareness comes from. Excuse me, my dogs are barking. They seem to be aware of something too. Hold on, I'm going to pause this for just a second. I tell them I'm going to cut a video, but do they listen to me? This very awareness has no time. This very awareness is timeless. Think about times perhaps in your life when you have been so caught up in an activity, a game, a party, making love to a loved one, where you just completely lose track of time. Time disappears. In fact, the sense of self disappears along with the sense of time. In fact, the point I'm going to make a little bit later, shortly, is that the sense of self and the sense of time are interdependent. But remember those. You've probably had them. They're rare, but they occur. You get in the flow, you get in the zone. And suddenly, boom, time has appeared to elapse. The end of an event has occurred. So this perception of time goes along with this perception of a sense of self. But during that time when you lost sense of self, did you cease to function? No, did you? You didn't cease to function. You didn't stop living. You didn't lose your awareness of what it was that was taking place at a time when your own sense of self disappeared. Your own sense of time disappeared. My God, where did the time go? It was never there. Your sense of self might have been there and then disappeared and then came back. And along with this sense of self is this sense of a linear perception of time. You, the listener of this video, you're timeless. You're boundless. You have no end. You have no center. Just look. Do you meditate? If you do, stop. Close your eyes or however you want to meditate and look within. What is it that's looking? Are you aware? How do you know you're aware? Look for your own awareness. Awareness looking for awareness. Can you find it? But you know you're aware. If I just ask you the question, are you aware? Are you? Are you aware? There, in that moment, before the answer came up, before your mind kind of sent its own sonar out there and came back and bounced, and then you said, yes, I'm aware. Before that, how did you know? How did you know? An Aikido teacher of mine taught us a little trick. He did it this way. Okay, so follow along. You ready? 1, 2. 1, 2. 1. There. Right after I said 1, but before your mind said in your own head, because if I know it happened, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Before that, there was a gap. Did you notice? Try it again. 1, 2. 1, 2. The gap. That gap is your true nature. Look, can you look inside the gap? What's there? What's there is what's listening to this video. What's there is what operates in this world. What's there is what perceives time or not. It's before time. It's timeless. It has no time. So when I say we don't move through time, time moves through us, I'm referring to that. Now notice your awareness of time probably came back up as a thought. Now there's a thought. Time is a thought. Time is a thought. And what is thought? Thought is your mind at work. So as we move around the world in our day, time, as these biological units, perceiving a linear sense of time, what's really happening is our minds are at work. In fact, as a scientist, which has been my profession, a research psychologist, a research scientist in psychology, I've been studying this interconnection of mind and time. In fact, we have a theory out there called MindTime. But I don't want to talk about MindTime. But if you want to look it up, just Google MindTime. One word, MindTime. MindTime. But what it does, it talks about how we think, how we perceive and process information, how we interact with the world and others, is dependent upon how we utilize our memory systems and orient ourselves in time. And we have 3 different broad thinking patterns, which we call past thinking, present thinking, and future thinking, and it influences everything we do. Now, when I say we here, I'm now talking about our perceptions as unique biological units. The personality that manifests here, the way information is perceived and processed here, the way I react to what happens around me here in this perceived biological unit is dependent upon this non-separation of mind and time. Just look it up. Let's come back to the timeless, because that's what we're really interested in here, the timeless. What is it that exists prior to the arising of mind and time? That is called many things, as I've said before in this video and elsewhere. It's prior to the arising of a sense of self. It's prior to thought. It's prior to time. We perceive ourselves as moving through time, but in reality, time moves through us. We also, let's go back to space for a second, because from a relative perspective, especially, he was, in fact, the theorist of relativity, Albert Einstein, said that space and time are one thing. Now, I'm being dualistic here, but so is Einstein. Although he was talking about space and time, perception of space and of time is a relative phenomenon. Because what he didn't address is who's doing the perceiving. That's where the quantum physicists came along later. And Einstein can never fully reconcile himself with the quantum physicists. I think it was Niels Bohr, or it might have been David Bohm, who wrote way back in the 30s, I believe, the universe and the observer of the universe co-arise in a mutually creative fashion. The observer, or the universe, and the observer of the universe co-arise in a mutually creative fashion. The observer and the universe are one. So we might have a perception of space and of time. We might perceive ourselves walking through space. It's the nature of our existence as our apparent humanness, being human beings. But where does that perception take place? Where does a sense of an object take place? This is the real heart of the matter. Where does that perception take place? You might think it takes place, it's in the brain. Yeah, where? Cut your brain open into pieces and pull them apart. Could you show me exactly where that pencil exists? Yeah, we've mapped certain areas of the brain. Visual information apparently comes back here in the occipital lobe, and sensory information up here in the somatic cortex. There's a motor cortex that allows me to move my fingers. But where does awareness of that reside? Where does awareness of this object reside? Where does awareness of this reside? When you see that, and it's really a simple thing to see. In fact, it's so simple we ignore it. As spiritual seekers, we go chasing some type of mystical experience when all along that which we were looking for is what's doing the looking. You are what you're looking with is what you're looking for. What is that? You give it a name. Don't attach to the name. True nature. What is that? Pure consciousness. What is that? Pure awareness. What is that? Pure awakeness. What is that? What are you? You're this. You are at once, simultaneously, the whole perceived universe and that which perceives the universe. That's the great mystery. It's very paradoxical. The mind wants to understand it, it cannot. Don't try. Don't try to understand it. Just look. It's right there. Closer than close. Just that. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to do anything. You just have to notice. Do you see? Well, this turned out to be a little longer than I thought. So, thank you.